I have the biggest collection of eyeballs in the world, with over 100 different fake eyeballs equaling over $1 million. But how exactly did I get here? Everyone knows me for all of my crazy custom eyeballs, but no one knows the real story on how I lost my eye. So stick around because I'm about to tell you the full emotional story on how everything happened. Now on my channel, I have gotten a whole bunch of crazy custom eyeballs recently and hidden the actual story on how I lost my eye. And well, while getting a whole bunch of crazy custom eyeballs is very, very cool because I have the largest collection of eyes in the world, I have had a lot of subscribers ask me how I lost my eye. So for the first time in a really long time, I'm gonna tell you the real story on how I lost my eye. So it all started when I was only 2 years old. My mom actually took this photo of me, and in this photo, she noticed that one of my eyes had a weird gold film on it, and she thought that was very, very weird. She had no idea what it was, but something inside of her told her to go to the doctor and ask what it is. And at this time, my mom was actually giving birth to my little sister, so when she went to the hospital, she actually showed this picture to the doctor while giving birth to my sister, and well, the doctor was also very, very concerned because he had never seen anything like this before. And well, the doctor was trying to do all sorts of tests at this hospital, but he truly did not know what was going on and was very, very concerned. So he actually sent me to a different hospital to see what was actually going on. And this was very, very hard because my mom was at one hospital with my sister and now I was at a different hospital with my dad. And so when we get to this hospital, they actually found this gold film in my eye in a lot of different photos. And well, that is when they urgently began to care because they knew something was seriously, seriously wrong. And this was absolutely terrifying because I was only 2 years old. And when I was in this hospital, they were doing tests and x-rays for multiple days. And well, after multiple days of tests and x-rays, the doctors and surgeons finally figured out what was wrong with me. And so they gathered me and my family into this room and they told us that I had a rare type of cancer in the retina of my eye called retinoblastoma. And they had said that this is a very rare type of cancer that hardly ever happens, but when it does, it is very, very deadly. And now, since I was only 2 years old, I couldn't really make any decisions for myself. However, the doctors gave my parents 2 different options. Option number 1 was to go through chemotherapy, which would allow me to keep my eyeball. However, there was a very high percent that I could possibly pass away because the cancer could spread directly to my brain, and well, that would not be good. And option number 2 was to take out my eyeball and remove all of the cancer with it. And this was a very hard decision for my parents to make because they didn't want their kid to grow up without an eyeball, but they also did not want me to possibly pass away. And this is where things get interesting. My parents actually asked the doctors if they could take out their own eyeballs and give it to me. And sadly, the doctors said no because eye transplants do not exist. And this was very, very hard for my parents because they did not want their son to lose his eyeball. And they were very sad that they couldn't donate their eyeballs to me. And even my grandparents asked the same questions and they were all devastated to learn that they could not remove their eyeballs and give it to me, and instead I would have to live with no eyeball. But this left them with only one choice: to remove my eyeball and take out all of the cancer with it, because although I would live with a missing eyeball, at least I wouldn't have passed away. And so it was time. After making the very difficult decision to remove my eyeball and take out all of the cancer with it, it was time to finally do the hardest eye surgery in the entire world. And well, I was only 2 years old and I went back into the surgery room with 2 eyeballs and cancer, and after a long, hard surgery, I came back with only 1 eyeball. However, the cancer was finally gone. And when I got back into the hospital room after surgery, everybody was crying. Because just like that, all of the cancer was gone. However, I had a missing eye. And the recovery time for this was absolutely insane, so I actually had to wear this bandage right here that you see in the picture for a long time before I could even get a prosthetic eye. But after everything was healed, I finally got my first ever prosthetic eye. And it is actually this eyeball right here. So I was 2 years old and I finally had my prosthetic eyeball. And honestly, everyone thought that it would make it look like I had 2 eyeballs and everything would be perfect. However, that was definitely not the case. Because growing up, I was bullied so much for having 1 eyeball. Like anytime I left my home and went to school, everybody would bully me because they thought that I had a super lazy eyeball because it didn't match perfectly, and it upset me so much. Literally every single day in school growing up, I heard the word Cyclops, One-Eye Willie, and so many other terrible names. People would even wave their hands over here across my face because they knew I couldn't see it because I had a missing eye. And so growing up, I had basically no friends, and I was very scared to even go in public or to school or anywhere. And so for the longest time, I tried to cover up the fact that I had 1 eyeball. So I would always put my hand over my eyeball so that nobody would notice, or I would always wear very dark sunglasses so it would hide the fact that I had a missing eye. Now, I dealt with this for almost 19 years of being bullied every single day and people making fun of me, and all of that changed in 1 single day. So in September of 2019, I made myself a TikTok account and I posted my very first video ever. And in this video, the top comment was, "What is wrong with your eye?" And well, after 19 years of being bullied and made fun of every single day, I made a video response back to this comment, and I took out my eye for the very first time, and I told the full story on how I lost my eye. And well, this video blew up and got millions and millions of views, and I woke up and I was so shocked. And it wasn't because of the views, it was because I had hundreds and thousands of messages of other people with 1 eyeball saying that I inspired them because of me sharing my story. And from that day forward, I made a promise with myself to take out my prosthetic eyeball so that nobody could make fun of me for having a lazy eyeball, but instead embrace my disability and stand out from the crowd and be different from everyone else, because this is who I am and I shouldn't have to hide it. And so I started making TikToks every single day, not wearing my eyeball and not wearing it in public, and it honestly helped me so much. Because I accepted myself for who I truly am, I became way more confident within myself, and I was not afraid to be different and be me. And also doing that, I was inspiring millions of people every single day that also have the same disability that I have. And then one afternoon, I came up with the best idea that I have ever thought of. To make the most of my disability and get the first custom eyeball ever created. And it was at that time that I finally got the world's first custom eyeball, this Sharingan eye. I went down to Zach the ocularist and he made me the world's first prosthetic custom eyeball, and it was this eyeball right here. And not only was it my first custom eyeball, but it was the start to this YouTube channel as well. And after I got this eyeball, I decided to start adding to my collection and getting a whole bunch of crazy custom eyes. And not just 1 eyeball, but now I have over 100 different eyeballs in my collection, and it all started with that first Sharingan eye. And since that Sharingan eye, I have been making YouTube videos every single week for the past 3 or 4 years, all about my eyeball and getting a whole bunch of crazy custom eyes. And well, this was the worst thing that ever happened to me for the first 19 years of my life. I got bullied and made fun of every single day until I took my eye out and shared my story and became confident and happy with who I truly am. And it was since that moment when I made my first TikTok and shared my story that I realized that God put this in my life for a reason, and that was to share my story and help inspire others with the same disabilities. And that is why I get so many crazy custom eyeballs every single week on this YouTube channel, because this is who I am and I am just having fun with my disability. because I get to change the color of my eyeball and wear any eyeball that I want, and it is awesome. And because of you, I am almost to 10 million subscribers on this channel. But that is the full story and journey of my eye. So if you are watching this right now, drop a like on this video and make sure you're subscribed. And with that being said, I will see you guys in a couple of days.